Do you think the Pistons could be a top 4 team in the Eastern Conference this upcoming season?
Absolutely, I think they can. I think first of all, I think there's a lot of like a lack of clarity on what that top echelon even looks like right now. I would say the only teams that I would feel comfortable saying are going to be in the top 3 are the Cleveland Cavaliers and the New York Knicks. And if either of those teams are not in the top 3, something's gone terribly wrong and they need to have some serious discussions about looking at making some serious changes. Like outside of that, I think there's some real open, like open for debate discussion about what the upper echelon looks like right now. Like I think Orlando is certainly going to be in that mix. I think Atlanta, based off of the roster they put together, is definitely going to be in that mix. Obviously, Detroit's going to be in there too. I personally think Boston's going to be better than people think they're going to be this year. I know Philadelphia would want to believe that they're going to be higher in the East last year than they were. But like all that to be said, like, you know, outside of that, what do we really know about this conference going into the season? Like the Pacers, we have a decent idea of what this team is as far as the talent that they have, but like we don't really know what it looks like without Tyrese Halliburton there to set everyone up. The Bulls, obviously, we just talked about how, you know, inept they are. Miami, we don't really know what's going on there. Toronto is kind of a weird team that's like a confusing situation. Like every other team is like either just not that good or not that reliable or both. So like unless Detroit like comes out and has like some significant health issues or things just really aren't clicking in the way that they should be, or for some reason this young team that we don't expect just suddenly ascends up towards the top of the East, like I think the expectation should be for the Pistons to shoot for a top 4 seed going into the playoffs.
I mean, if I'm just thinking of these Eastern Conference teams off top of my head, like Cleveland, you know, 1 or 2 seed, most likely. You know, they're bringing people back. They added Lonzo Ball. The only thing where I think they might struggle initially is Max Strus had an injury, and he's going to be out for several months.
Darius Garland, there's some health stuff there too.
With I think his foot or whatever,
yeah,
got turf toe or something like that. So Cleveland's a little bit vulnerable there. So they might start a little slow to start the season, but they still have a majority of their core coming back. I think New York is still going to be one of the top teams in the East with everything that they have in their core. You know, getting Jordan Clarkson, which I've told you, I think is kind of like an under the radar move.
Yep.
Yabusele, who they signed as a backup, which I mean,
that's a good move too.
That's a good move. I'm not really sure what the situation is with Mitchell Robinson. I've kind of like talked to a little bit of Knicks fans of like, you know, trying to re-sign him for cheap, but you know, Knicks are probably, you know, top 3, top 2 team in the East without Boston or Indiana kind of, you know, breathing down their neck. Yeah. And I think Orlando's up there in a top 3 situation. And why I feel that way is like before they had injuries, Sean, like they were a top 3, top 4 team when Paolo and Franz were healthy. And, you know, you add Desmond Bane into the mix and he's a clear upgrade over Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. I love KCP, but Desmond Bane can score at all 3 levels. And he's just a bucket getter. And I think he's really going to complement both of those guys and, you know, kind of take some stress off of them. So I honestly think the Pistons and the Hawks will probably be battling for that 4 seed. And
I agree.
Wouldn't it be funny if you got Pistons Hawks first round?
That would be what a series that would be, man. And honestly, like kind of teams that are like 2 polar opposites in like kind of how they're building and like kind of like who they are from an identity standpoint, like very, very different teams from that perspective, but certainly would be one heck of an intriguing matchup. But like, yeah, I think people forget how awesome Orlando was before. And like, by the way, like 2 freak injuries to Paolo and Franz. They got the exact same injury. Injury.
An oblique tear, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. It was, yeah, I remember it was either like hip pointer, like oblique. Like it was, yeah, they got the exact same injury. And then, you know, like Atlanta, as high as like people are on their roster, which I'm high on their roster too, don't get me wrong, There's also a lot of question marks. Like Kristaps Porzingis isn't exactly someone you can count to be in the lineup every single night. Like Nickeil Alexander-Walker is a really solid pickup, but like how much does that really elevate them? And then also like to me, it's like you want to talk about like the biggest deciding factor of like how good Atlanta will be actually is Zachary Risachet like a star player that they got number 1 overall, or is he like a really good role player? Because if he's a really good role player, that's a really solid player to have on your team for years to come. And you like his physical tool set and the gifts that are there. But like if he hits, Atlanta goes up another level. I mean, they enter a conversation that they haven't been in my lifetime.
Probably since like the Paul Millsap, Al Horford, Jeff Teague days when they won like 60 plus games with Mike Budenholzer.
Right.
Like when they
were even then, I don't know if anyone actually thought of them as contenders.
No, I mean they were a fun team, but they did win a whole lot of games. I think there's one player you didn't mention, which I'm kind of surprised you didn't, is Jalen Johnson. I think he's the biggest question mark, not because he's not a great player. He is. I think the biggest question mark with him is health. Can you play more than 50 games? If he can, then yeah, Atlanta's probably a top 4 team in the East, and they're battling neck and neck with the Pistons. But can you imagine, though, that the Pistons are hosting not only second year of the playoffs, but home court advantage as a top 4 seed?
I mean, that would be you talk about one of the greatest turnarounds in NBA history. Like within 2 years of a 28 game losing streak to have home court advantage in the first round. Like that's a massive victory. And imagine if they win that playoff series. Imagine if they're playing until like mid to late May.
Yeah, I mean, like this ownership group hasn't won a playoff series yet. They haven't won a playoff series since 2008. Like,
exactly. Like they finally got the game off the docket, but now like can they chain together 4 wins?
Yeah, it'll be interesting, but I do think like them and Atlanta are definitely going to be kind of like battling like throughout the year. Watch the Pistons just have like first 20 games are like 14-7 or 14-6, and they're like sitting at the number 2 seed. Like watch that, sure. Like I remember when the Pistons got Avery Bradley, and like they were the first 20 games, they were like a number 2 seed.
Yep.
And then he gets injured, and then we just don't make the playoffs that
year.
Yeah,
do you remember? I remember distinctly that game against Boston, in Boston during that 20 game, like kind of that stretch. And we went out and dominated the Celtics in the Garden when the Celtics were like really good. I remember like thinking the Pistons are back.
Yeah, man, I do too. It's kind of funny though, just kind of like thinking of like previous like regimes, but I could definitely see this team just coming out really aggressive, like no slow starts. They get a indication of the way JB wants to play, and like they come out as the aggressors, play fast. Like they're sitting like at a 3rd seed first 20 games of the season. I think a lot of us are gonna be talking kind of crazy up here.